I'm Olivia. I'm 34 years old. I've lived most of my life in silence. Go to work in the morning, come back in the evening, stop by the grocery store, and sleep with the TV off at home. Don't let anyone interfere, and don't let anyone interfere with you. I followed this strategy. Until that night, that is. That day, my shift at the pharmacy had been extended. A few prescriptions were late, and the system had slowed down. I left around 10:30 p.m. I wanted to stop by the grocery store before heading home. Yogurt, bread, some fruit. The parking lot was almost empty. Only a few cars. The air was cool, and there was a light breeze. My car was parked near the entrance. I emptied my basket and put the bags in the trunk. Just as I was about to get in, I heard a voice. "Let go of my arm. You're hurting me." The voice must have been delayed by 2 cars. A man was yelling at a young woman. She was crying. She had a phone in her hand, but she was acting protectively. He suddenly grabbed her arm. Hard. She tried to pull away, but he moved closer. I yelled reflexively. "Hey! What are you doing?" The man turned to me. His eyes were bloodshot. He had a lot of alcohol, from a distance. "What's it to you?" The woman took the opportunity and ran away. She ran towards the market. The man questioned himself for a moment, then got into his car. He started the engine but couldn't get out. I was immediately following the police. I had given him the license plate. You described the crime scene. The police arrived within 7 minutes. The man was there. He was hiding behind the women's market. The police found him and took his report. Adam was taken into custody. The police thanked me. "You acted bravely," he said. I went into the house. I parked my car in the garage. I locked the door. But I couldn't sleep. I kept my eyes on the window. It was like someone was watching me. I got in the car to go to work this morning. Something caught my eye on the plastic part under the steering wheel. A reddish stain. Like blood. I touched it. It wasn't wet, but it was fresh. I was shocked. I checked my car. A tissue was in the back seat. The same stain on it. And a note, "You should have intervened." She went to the police. I explained the incident. They examined the car. There might be a threat, they said. And the man was released from custody. Delay in evidence. The woman wouldn't press charges. The camera footage was incomplete. The market's exterior cameras had recorded the moment. The interior cameras showed the woman, but her face wasn't clear. From that day on, I check my car every morning. Sometimes there are fingerprints on the window. Sometimes the rearview mirror has been moved. Sometimes, somehow, the glove compartment is open. But there's no camera. No footage. Just silence. And she's not in my pocket. You should have intervened. One night, my car alarm goes off. The camera wasn't broken. The door was locked. But there was something taped to the interior rearview mirror. A photo. My photo. In the market parking lot, that night. Watched from a distance. The man's silhouette behind me. But no face. Just a shadow. The police came again. "There's a possibility of being followed," they said. But the guards. There's no concrete threat. I was still in the same house. I went to the same job. I stopped at the same grocery store. But now I don't get into my car without looking out the window. And every night, I reread that note. You should have intervened.
I'm Ethan. I'm 27. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I work from home. My neighborhood is quiet. Mostly older people live there. Everyone keeps to themselves. No one interferes. That's why I loved it here. But that car changed everything. 2 blocks down, an old, abandoned, scary-looking car had been sitting for weeks. Like a piece of junk, someone's name, but it wasn't. A black sedan. The windows were fogged up, the hood dusty. The license plate was still there, but it was dirty. I didn't notice it at first. But over time, it started to bother me. Because every morning on my way to work, I'd catch sight of it. It was as if it shouldn't be there. It was as if the car was alive. Every morning, it seemed to move a little. But when I went over, it was still sitting there. It was getting more and more interesting. One day, I mustered up the courage. I was determined. I approached. I looked in the window. An empty coffee cup in the front seat. A paper cup. A blanket in the back seat. But there was something else, an old phone. Black, with a push-button start. The screen was off. The door was locked. But the rear window was slightly open. I reached out and picked up my phone. Words can't describe the pounding in my heart as I reached out. At that moment, the screen lit up. A call was coming in. The number calling, it was my number. I was stunned. Who put this phone here? Why did I pick up this phone? How could my number be calling? I didn't answer the phone. I just stared at it. Then the screen went blank. I put the phone down and ran away. My heart was pounding. I returned home. I locked the door. I closed the curtains. But I couldn't sleep that night. I went back the next morning. The car was still there. But the windows had been wiped clean. The phone was gone. The blanket had been folded. It was as if someone had been there. Someone had spent the night there. I was sure now. Someone was definitely living here. I went to the police. I said, "Abandoned vehicle." They came. The owner couldn't be found. The license plate was registered in another city. The car was towed. But the police asked me something. "Are you sure you took the phone?" There were no fingerprints on the window. Yes, I did. But now, I'm not sure. That night, my phone rang. The number was private. I didn't answer. But a voicemail had been left. "Ethan, why did you look?" The voice was muffled. Familiar yet foreign. Like an echo. Like my own voice. Things changed after that. Files started disappearing from my computer. My designs were corrupted. Strange messages were arriving in my email inbox. All blank. Just one word in the subject line. "Come back." Someone was either playing a game with me or haunting me. Everything felt terrifying all the time. One night, a black sedan pulled up in front of my house. Same model. Same color. The windows were fogged up. There was no license plate. I didn't go out. I just watched. The car drove away after 10 minutes. But the next morning, something was on my doorstep. A phone. Same model. The screen was off. But the battery was full. I turned it on. There was only a voice recording inside. "Ethan, we chose you. Because you looked. Because you were curious. Now it's your turn." I went to the police again. I gave them my phone. They examined it. They said, "The device is inactive. There's no data." But I had heard it. That voice. Those words. I talked to the neighbors in the neighborhood. No one remembered the car. They said, "We never saw it. But I had driven past it every morning. I had looked at it every morning." I was starting to think someone was messing with me. Otherwise, I couldn't imagine anything else. One night, I dreamed I was sitting in that car. In the back seat. Under the blanket. My phone in my hand. A number on the screen, mine. But this time I answered. "Ethan, we're talking to you now." I woke up. I was covered in sweat. My phone was ringing. It really was. The number was private. I didn't answer. But a voicemail came through. "We're talking to you now." From that day on, the streetlights in the neighborhood started going out at night. Only the lamp in front of my house remained on. Only a shadow loomed across my window. I'm still here. I'm still working. But now I check my phone every morning before I go out. Because sometimes, a call pops up on the screen. There's no number. But there's a word in the name. Car.
My name is Carla. Even though I feel 20, people tell me I'm 39. I've lived in the same neighborhood for 12 years. I'm a teacher. It's quiet, tidy, a bit boring, but safe. My backyard adjoins my neighbor Henry's. Henry is old and reserved. He lives alone. He never talks to anyone. He has a small shed in his garden. It's always locked. There's always a rusty lock on the door. But one night, it had been left open. That night, I couldn't sleep. It was around 1:30 a.m. I was sitting in the kitchen. Looking out the window, I noticed it. The shed door was slightly ajar. Normally, it would be locked with a chain. But the chain was on the floor. The door was shaking. I was curious. I grabbed my flashlight and went out into the garden. I pushed the door open. It creaked. The inside was covered in dust. But something caught my eye. Old school uniforms hung on the wall. Name tags, me, Lori, Sam. A chair beneath them. Dark stains on it. Like blood. And a tape recorder on the floor. On a cassette. Working. I turned it on. The sound was distorted. But something was audible. Henry, please, enough is enough. We want to leave. I froze. I left the cabin. My hand was shaking. The next day, I asked Henry, "What do you have in your cabin?" He smiled. Old things. Memories. But that smile was so fake. His eyes weren't looking at me. He seemed to be staring at nothing, mocking. I went to the police. I told them what happened. They came. They examined the cabin. But it was empty. As if it had been cleaned. There was nothing. No chairs. No uniforms. No equipment. But I saw it. I heard it. That voice still lingers in my mind. Enough is enough. We want to leave. Henry wasn't questioned. The case was closed, old, lonely, harmless. But I continued investigating. I talked to former neighbors in the neighborhood. In 2005, Henry's house was renovated. 3 young workers worked there at the time. Their names, Ben, Lori, Sam. Afterward, none of them were ever seen again. There were no missing persons reports in the police records. Their ties to their families were tenuous. They were declared missing, and the case was closed. But I know. There was something in that shed. There was something in that wall. One night, as I was passing the shed, I heard a noise coming from the wall. A clicking sound. It sounded like someone was inside. The door was locked. But the window was open. I looked in. There was a scratch in the middle of the wall. Fresh. As if someone had scratched it from the inside. The next day, Henry was hospitalized. He had a heart attack. The apartment was empty. The shed was still locked. But I went back in. This time, I examined the wall. Among the scratches was a word. It was hard to read, but it was clear: help. I went to the police again. I showed them the wall. I took photos. But still no results. Insufficient evidence. Henry never returned from the hospital. A month later, he died. The house was sold. The new owners moved in. The shed is still there. But the chain is gone. The door is open. It seems empty inside. But I know. That voice is still there. That wall still speaks. Sometimes I wake up at night. I go out into the garden. I stand in front of the shed. The wind blows. And a whisper comes from the wall. Enough is enough.